Hello, Tiffany.
Hello, Kat.
It has been a month since we've
Oh my
recorded.
God, it's been so long.
I think we needed it. Thank you, everyone, for your patience while we have sorted through some issues at home. It's
Yeah,
summer break. Everyone needs a summer break.
right? Yeah, I was gonna speak on that a little bit, but
Yeah,
I don't
please.
have to
I
take
mean,
over at the beginning.
yeah,
Okay.
we got.
Yeah, basically, if anybody's experiencing the healthcare system, I fully sympathize with you because I had a loved one in the hospital for about 50, 60 days,
Oh
probably
God,
50
such a
days.
nightmare.
Very close loved one, completely upended our lives. I'm not going to say who it is to protect their privacy, but yeah, it was absolutely insane. Had multiple weekends where we were like pretty sure that this person was going to die, like pretty confident and hopeful, but still like all the doctors are saying things look pretty bad.
Yeah.
So, and it's just been like so exhausting. And I had multiple days at work where I literally all I could do was not work but garden,
Yeah.
which says something for gardening, I think.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
I literally was like, I cannot physically or mentally do anything except for go outside and be with my plants.
I'm
It was
so.
weird.
I. I think I'm glad that you had that at least. Like
I
that.
know.
Good. I mean, It's horrible that you needed it, but thank God the plants were there. Like.
I know. I know. I'm obsessed still. And yeah, current. I've
I
like
have
entered my granny phase
That's.
at
I think
35.
you're not alone. I think a lot of our listeners. I know my friends. The same thing. Something huge and traumatic happens, and it's like I just have to go dig in the dirt. And I feel
Yes.
like our entire lives are traumatic and terrible right now. And yeah, it's just like COVID's over, and so we're all just supposed to get back to normal, and we haven't had any processing. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and then, yeah, normal things in our lives, our family members in the hospital. That's not normal. That's a big upheaval. But on top of 4 years of all of this processing,
Yes.
that we haven't been able to do, we still have to be productive, and we have to, economy has
Yes.
to go, and you got to afford food through inflation. Like it just compounds, and
Yeah.
no wonder we all want to live in the woods and raise herbs, and
It's so true.
like no wonder. Yeah, I completely validate that you needed that, and I think you are not alone, and I'm glad you did it.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Cuz yeah, I don't know, it was like this weird it was a need. It really was.
Yes,
It's like
yeah.
I cannot do anything except for
Well,
take
and
care
if you
of my garden.
hadn't, like, how burnt out would you be?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Exactly. Because I would. It was either just staring at my computer, just
yeah,
staring.
you're like, here's a word,
It's like I am not going to be creative right now.
publish that. Yeah, it
Here's
says,
my yeah, exactly. Here's a headline.
yeah,
Duh. That's what you got.
exclamation point.
So anyway, thank you everybody for being patient. It's been really, really, really insane. So things are looking way better. Person did not die. They're doing much better. Thank God. So all seems good. I think we're out of the woods. So
Good.
yeah, but I
I'm glad.
appreciate the flexibility. And you have a fun thing that you just added to your
Yes,
household.
my boyfriend and I, being irresponsible teenagers, have adopted a 4-month-old Siberian Husky German Shepherd mix puppy.
What'd
We
you
will
say the
post.
name was?
Well, the breed
The
is
breed, yeah.
a Gerberian Shepsky. Because, we
I
can't
love
just
it.
have. Oh, she's a freaking mutt, you guys. We got her
Yeah.
at the shelter. She doesn't have papers. We're not going to breed her. Her name's Ada.
I
And
love that name.
she's currently asleep on my curtain on the other side of it.
I love it.
I'll,
And she's
I'll
only
take
like
a.
4 months old,
She's
so
4 months old. I'm going to take a picture of her that we can post to Instagram so everyone can see
yes, I love it.
what she does while I record the podcast. She doesn't contribute. But,
She probably will.
there will
Maybe
be,
even
I
tonight.
know, usually, like, Sean said he would watch her most of the time, but he had to go home and get some stuff, and I was like, oh, she can hang out, and so she's sleeping, but she had to pee on the carpet first before the podcast, so,
Of course.
she's
In
only been
front
in
of
our
you.
house for 4 days, yeah, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she's learning, but she's
She's
a baby.
learning. Yeah.
She's very scary smart.
Uh-oh.
Scary smart. Yeah. She's already gotten sit and down,
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
and she has learned the dog door. And even though we don't let her outside on her own, this morning we were like sitting in the living room and she got up and she walked to the back door and she walked out and she pooped outside all by herself,
Amazing.
which is a dream. If, we're 50-50 on the pee, but 100% on the poop today. So
Today.
we have two signs on the wall that says it's been so long since the last accident. So far, we have 1 day since the last poop accident and 2 hours since the last pee accident. So,
2 hours.
yeah, well,
I love
30
it.
minutes. Yeah.
It is like toddler light. It
Yes.
really is.
Oh, yeah, I always tell it's like really young puppies. It's like having an infant, but it's so much like an infant is an infant for a year. A
Yeah.
toddler, a puppy is an infant for 3 weeks, and then they're a toddler, and then they're a teenager. Like it happens
Yes.
really quick, and
Yeah.
so it's like there's I'm not ever going to compare it to raising a child, but the first night you're like, what's the baby doing? Like we didn't sleep the first
I
night at all.
compared it. I was like, it sounds like you have a toddler. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
but
or a
not a
newborn,
baby.
actually, with it getting
Yeah.
up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, every 3. Well, she's been 2 nights in a row. She slept through the night.
Oh, nice.
So because they're only supposed to be able to hold their bladder as old as they are, plus 1.
Okay.
So like she's 4 months, she should be able to hold it for 5 hours.
Okay.
But she hasn't woken us up. She woke us up the first night just because she was in a new place. But yeah, the second she slept till 6:30 yesterday and 5:30 this morning. So
Okay. I mean, it's early, but not too bad.
yeah, but not like 4:30
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly.
she's a good girl. She's going to be smarter than me. It's going to be terrifying. But we're starting training on Sunday, and we're doing as much as we can. So
Yes. Oh, that's so exciting.
yeah.
I love dogs. And she's so
Yeah.
cute. You have to look at Instagram. 'Cause
Oh
she's
my
adorable.
God, she is. And I took her for a walk this afternoon, and this woman, her dog was off leash, and I was like, she's a little reactive. She's a new puppy, and the dog just kept coming, and she was like, I'm sorry. Oh my God, your dog is beautiful.
Oh.
I'm like, I know. Could you put your dog on a leash, please? But,
Thank you. Please
Yeah.
back up.
thank you. No, they met. It was fine. That dog was super sweet and super silly, so
Oh,
it was
good.
good. She was a little like, "Ruff, ruff," and then she sniffed his butt, and she was fine.
Oh, good.
We're
Good.
learning. So,
Yeah,
but if I go
that's
like this,
still...
yes, yeah,
Yeah, on the
I want
video.
her not to be reactive, but I'm
Yeah.
checking on her to make sure she's still asleep on the curtain. So
Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if, our dog was like 3-ish when we rescued her. And
Yeah.
we had maybe a couple months where we were living in DC and she was doing really well with other dogs. And then we moved to a further away place where she didn't see that many. And then COVID happened. Hasn't seen a dog in like
Yep.
a year. So it's just all,
she's like,
it
what?
it ain't good. It ain't good.
Who is that? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Why are they here? Yeah, and I'm sure they feed off of us, so like our stress levels are higher.
Yeah.
During
it's
COVID.
True.
I mean, it was scary to see people in COVID. You didn't know.
That's
So-
true. Yeah. We probably reacted like, ugh.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows? Dogs get
Yeah.
funny ideas in their heads. Dog logic is very funny. But yeah. So anyway, we have big life changes in the last month.
Yeah, it's been a lot going on.
Well,
But now here we are.
yes, we're back. Still talking about transportation.
Yes.
And so let's get into it. Tonight we're talking about buses as public transit.
Nice.
And I was going to ask to start. So how do you feel about the public bus?
I
Just in
love a
general.
public bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I guess I have mixed feelings.
Let's caveat. I was going to say I love public buses too as an idea.
Yeah, I think we probably both have so many stories
Yes.
about buses, but yeah, I in general preferred riding the bus to the metro in DC just because it was like really well. The bus line I ended up riding mostly was like on time a lot. It came really frequently. I didn't have to like walk down all the metro stairs and go underground, whatever. So
Yeah.
I generally love buses.
And you get to see more of the city on the bus
Yeah.
than you do on the train.
Yeah,
on
it's a little
subway
bit
or
more
the-
pleasant.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cheaper too, which was
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say that most Americans don't feel the same way you do. Just in
I
general.
know.
Like, I think about we, buses are generally unreliable. Like you said, it mostly came on time. Like, that's kind of a rarity for a lot of bus
Yeah, I
systems.
was gonna say that was that route. I went on other
Yes.
routes that were like, where the hell? It's
Yeah,
been 2 hours.
I
I
know.
might as well
Yeah.
walk.
I have stood by a bus stop in Albuquerque for an hour and a half waiting for a bus and been like, I guess I'll
Yeah.
just walk there.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know. I know.
yeah, they break down. Um, they're dirty sometimes.
Hmm.
There's a lot of unclean, and it's because, there aren't enough employees.
Yeah, people spill stuff. I've sat on something wet
Yeah, something
many
wet.
times. Just be
Yeah,
like,
people
well,
just leave their food in their trash.
you hope that wasn't pee.
Yeah. Please let it not be pee this time or something worse. Yeah. I also like they have a reputation for being for poor people, which Americans hate poor people. I
Yeah.
just like I remember did you ever watch Sex in the City?
Yeah, but it's been a while.
There's a scene Carrie Bradshaw's out of money and she's standing waiting for the bus and the woman next to her like the bus pulls up and it's a Carrie Bradshaw ad on the side.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the woman next to her turns and says, "Why are you riding the bus if you're on the bus?"
Yes, I remember that.
Like
Yeah.
you're supposed to have enough money if you're, like we consider it a poor people's, you only ride the bus if you have to. Also, sometimes it can be unsafe. There's a lot of transient people on the bus who may or may not have mental health or substance abuse issues. I have definitely recently had, I'm afraid to ride the bus at night here in Austin.
Yeah.
Sean and I had a situation a few weeks ago. We were coming back from downtown late at night, and a guy with a machete got on the bus, and he was having a psychotic break and like accusing people of being cops and like trying to start fights. And it took a few stops for the bus driver to finally kick him off, But
No
we were all like,
way.
yeah. But like, he sat next to a guy and was like, "I know you're a cop." And the guy was like, "I am a cop." He's like, "I'm not really a cop. I was just trying to like, if you're gonna start shit with me, I'm gonna,
Intimidate, yeah.
yeah."
But he
And
had an actual machete,
yeah,
just wielding a
we
machete.
we had seen him actually. We had been with our running group. He was in a park downtown, and we were all being loud in our running group. And he was like yelling at us, and some of the guys went over to like, "Hey, sorry, we didn't," and he pulled a machete on him. So we knew it was the same guy, and he got on the freaking bus with us, and we were like, "This is not going to be
Okay.
good." So finally,
Okay.
like, he started yelling at this guy, and Sean was just like, "This guy needs to be off the bus." And so
Yeah.
finally, the bus driver stopped.
Gotcha.
But yeah, this is all features of the American bus system.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say it, but they're kind of on purpose
What?
from American policy standpoint. So
What? Okay, you just blew my mind.
all these things don't have to be true. They are in America, but they don't have to be true. So I'm here to try and rewrite the story on buses and maybe instill some rage within us to try to change things in America. That's tonight's goal.
Oh my god.
Welcome to Greening Up My Act.
Okay, that was awesome. I'm like,
That was our longest intro ever.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah. I have a lot to say about buses today, so I'm excited to talk about this. But so yeah, I guess we've already talked about our personal lives for half an hour, but maybe we should tell people, who are we?
Oh, right. Yeah, so we are two normal humans just trying to figure out how to live at least slightly more sustainably. And I'm realizing another one of my goals is to learn how to harness my rage, like you said,
Yes.
and use it for the bigger good. Like
Yes.
use it productively rather than just being
Fuming.
rageful or hopeless or
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah,
So-
I agree. And also learning kind of the nitty gritty of stuff that I wouldn't have without this podcast. Like
Yes.
I knew buses were better. I didn't know how.
Yep.
And I didn't, I kind of had an inkling, but all of this information that just, and I will say we are both marketing writers. We do research and we write blogs and things, copy for a living. But I will say that, as much research as I do, we try to limit ourselves to few sources. So this isn't in-depth research, but it's more than I knew previously. And it's probably
Yeah,
more than a lot
exactly.
of you in our audience know. And just knowing this little bit more, I feel more equipped to fight the good fight, what's
Yeah.
worth fighting for and why, you know.
Yep. Yeah, and we
So,
try to like look at products that are marketing themselves as, I don't know, something really super sustainable or whatever, and try to figure out if that's actually true or if it's, we like to call it green hooey.
hmm
And then also find like the products or the services or whatever that are really awesome. Like
yeah.
that's one thing that I really love about, we found some really cool shit
Yeah, exactly.
and stuff that I really read well. I want
Yeah.
to be in my area, but isn't yet. So yeah, that's what we're doing here, and we're trying to like, use our marketing expertise to look through the fluff, but also I feel like because we're writers, we're really good at distilling really complicated stuff down into palatable
Yes.
and digestible
Plain
information.
language. Yes.
Yes, in ways that like like my diesel episode. I was like, "Oh my god, diesel."
It's complicated. Yeah.
It's so much of this is so complicated. So, I feel like that's one of our strengths is being like, okay, these are the things that matter and these are the things that don't really matter so much. And yeah, we're going to get it wrong sometimes, but that's where you come in.
Yeah, let us know
Listener.
because we have a lot of really smart, expert listeners who do a lot of cool stuff. So,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, this week we're talking about buses, and I'm going to talk about my sources. We try to keep it to 5. I got 6. Sorry,
That's fine. That's
but
like almost always 6.
yeah, it's like it ends up. At least it's not 15. Sometimes it was
Yeah.
15 in the past.
I
And feeling it's
know.
too much. That would be a 2-hour episode. We only try to
Yeah.
keep it to 45 minutes, but
Yeah.
so this week I had the MIT Climate Portal Explainer about public transportation. The World Resources Institute had an article on post-pandemic public transport issues. CNBC had one is Here's Why Public Transit Keeps Running Out of Money. Transit for America had the basics on how public transit is funded. It's from 2015, but I think things have not changed too extensively since then. It's just talking about where public transit gets its money from,
Yeah.
especially buses. The Reason Foundation had Does Bus Transit Reduce Greenhouse Gas Emissions, also from 2010. And then Sustainable America, Why Doesn't the U.S. Have Better Public Transportation?
Okay.
So you see where we're going here. Again, we're talking about buses. It's very hard to separate buses from subway systems
Oh, is it?
in
Okay.
terms of like funding because they tend to be managed by the same groups, right?
Oh, okay.
I could have there's a lot of data out there, but it is really hard to parse.
Yeah.
Like the Public Transit Authority or the I have them in here, but the American Public Transit Group has like a lot of information, but it's all just numbers and like I didn't have time to go through and read every single one and be like, okay, this many. I try to Google how many buses are there in the U.S. How many public buses? Can't find it. Not easy. There's
Oh.
the first legible answer is Reddit, and they're just guessing. So, you know, it's because it's not federally run necessarily. It's done through localities and municipalities, and they keep their own track. So you'd have to go city by city, state by state, figure out what their public transit stuff is. So
Oh, okay.
I didn't have time for that today.
Yep.
But I also want to say we're talking about buses as public transit, not like Greyhound buses or motor coaches. There's some similar facts about those in terms of like if you're taking a long trip, riding the bus is more sustainable than a car, which we'll get into. But I'm talking about your daily commute or getting around your hometown, a bus, that kind of public transit. Your
Yeah.
Metropolitan Transit Authority bus. So,
Okay. Sweet.
yeah. So, our next question that we've been asking for the past season or two is what eco-friendly claims do they make? So, there are both I thought it was important to include both the eco-friendly claims, which I'm going to focus on, but also the economic claims, because in America, those are economic claims are more important than eco-friendly claims in a lot of ways for policy making and decision making. So if we're going to talk about the benefits of buses, you kind of have to include all of that.
Okay.
But the most basic eco-friendly claim that buses make is that they're more efficient than private cars because they can carry more people.
Right. Sort of like
So,
trains.
yeah, trains too. We saw this similar claim come up when we were talking about Ridwell, right? That they have one delivery car driving around a neighborhood generates less emissions than having 30 people drive to the dump, right?
Yeah.
Because a bus can hold more people than a car. If you had 50 cars on the road, there'd be much more, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
Also, because a bus can hold more people than a car, buses reduce congestion in cities. So
Yes.
having more cars idling in traffic also creates more CO2 emissions. So if you just have one bus, you have 50 fewer cars on the road. That means the bus can go faster. Also, you don't have those cars idling in traffic. So
Yeah. One engine versus 50.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it also means there are fewer traffic fatalities. Because, instead of having 50 cars that could possibly hit a pedestrian or a cyclist, you have one driver who is trained and paid not to. So hopefully, a little bit less, just having fewer cars on the road in general reduces traffic fatalities. That's just nuts and bolts of how fatalities work. Buses,
I actually know somebody who was hit by a bus and got a shitload of money for it.
yeah, there's that too.
That's crazy.
I've heard stories of people too. As it should be. I think anyone who gets hit by a car, any car,
I
any
was going to
vehicle,
say, think about the car. It's totally different with the car. I
Yeah.
mean,
you could have a hit and run,
yeah.
but a bus driver, they're being filmed. If they hit you,
They're
there's no
very
way they
hard
can
to
get away
hide
with
a
it.
bus, too.
Yes, exactly.
Very hard to
So,
run.
and you've got automatic witnesses on the bus. You've got,
Yeah, exactly.
like it's a
Yep.
much different situation. So,
Yeah.
another thing, buses don't need you know, for cars in cities, you need parking lots. Parking lots are not good for the environment. Buses don't need those parking lots in an urban setting. They can have one, outside city limits, whatever. But you don't need 100 spaces for the 100
Yeah.
people who ride the bus. So that means more space for parks, greenery, pedestrian walkways, etc. Now, some of the economic reasoning. Riding a bus is less expensive than owning or maintaining a car. It's one of the claims.
Oh, well, abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah, and I'll go into the numbers.
It was actually really affordable for how like insanely messy my car was, but I just spent $200 detailing my car. That was actually a good deal. Mm-hmm. He was like a young kid. I thought he was much younger, but he said he was 22. Had just out of like college, runs his own business. I was like, "You're on it, man.
Oh, do it.
But
Support. Yeah.
Yeah, like he comes to our house, cleans the car out, and I'm like, I will pay you way more than this, but I will also just pay you $200.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, that's $200 I gotta spend on not my car.
It's like 40 bus tickets. Yeah.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, maybe. Yeah. Well, yeah,
I
at
don't
least.
know.
Oh,
Math's
I'll tell you.
math.
That's math. I'm thinking like 200 bus tickets. 150 bus tickets. Okay. We'll say
Yeah,
that.
because my bus tickets used to cost, I want to say $2 each, maybe $2.50.
For the whole day, though.
No,
Oh, that was
per
just one ride. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't
Okay.
have that in DC, like the whole like day pass situation.
Oh, really?
At least that I know.
Oh,
of.
I know on the metro it was, yeah, you just load up your card and you swipe it.
Yeah,
And it would pay you, per ride.
right.
But well, in New York, when I lived there, you could get like a month pass Metro card.
Yeah, New York does a way better job.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, you should see Hong Kong.
oh yeah.
Well, I mean, most of the cities now you can just tap with your credit card, so you don't even need a card.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you have like an octopus card in Hong Kong, you can use it anywhere. You can use it at 7-Eleven if you want. It's brilliant.
Whoa.
But you can use it on the bus. You can use it, and you get a break. And the same in London actually. They have a similar one. Am I mixing up London and Hong Kong? Oh my God, this world traveler is just so weary of all these bus passes.
I don't think Octopus Card is. I don't think that's London. I've only been there
Okay.
once, but
I
that
can't
doesn't
remember
sound
the name
familiar.
of the London card.
I can't remember
I mean,
either,
you can
but-
just tap your credit card now, but you can also buy whatever the Metro Transit card is, and you get 15 rides for the price of 10 or something, and things like
Okay.
that. So
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, so yes, we will go into the numbers. I just ran very basic numbers on riding a bus in Austin versus owning a car, and I was like, all right, it's a lot less. Other economic claims: the money generated from public transit benefits the local economy. So that's something
Okay.
we'll need to get
Oh, is puppy moving?
Someone just moved. Yep. I can see the curtain move, and then I look. She's sprawling out this way rather than that way.
Oh.
So yeah. Access to public transit increases people's access to jobs, education, services, groceries, and entertainment, which also is another driver of the economy. So the more access you have to public transit, the better your local economy will be. And the last claim is that cities with better bus systems or public transit in general have more active populations physically because, you have to walk to get to the stop So you're
Yeah.
you're more active generally.
Oh, totally. I walked way more when I lived in a city. People think of cities as like these I don't know, like unhealthy, polluted, blah blah blah, but I was so much healthier when I didn't drive in my car all the time.
Oh my
Just
God.
sit.
We walk everywhere in Austin.
Yeah.
My neighborhood, the restaurants. Like if I can't walk there, I don't want to go.
Yeah. I biked
But-
like 3 miles one way
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
And it's like you get in really good shape and you're not even really trying. You're just
I
trying to
know.
get
I used to
somewhere.
be like, what was it? There's an Onion article once because I was biking to work 8 miles each way.
Oh my god. I think we talked about that. That's
Yeah,
insane.
but there was an Onion article my friend sent me, and it was like, girlfriend uses bikini body to bike. Like, that was my friend sent that to me. I was like, yeah, pretty much. I'm like in the best shape of my life, and like I wear bike gear. I don't wear a bikini.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
no,
so
no,
good.
this is for biking. But yeah, so those are the claims. Now the question is, do these claims hold up? And the answer is yes. When public transit is used or actually supported by policy.
Okay.
There's your caveat. Welcome to America. So let's get into these statistics. Or actually, is it time? Do you think we should take a break?
Yeah, maybe we'll take a quick break.
Okay, let's take a quick break. Cool. Okay, so we're talking about the eco-friendly and economic-friendly claims that buses make, and do they hold up? And our answer that we gave before the break was yes, when public transit is used by its populations or supported by public policy. So the World Resources Institute had a great paragraph about this, and I'm just going to read it word for word. Buses and trains can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by up to 2/3 per passenger per kilometer compared to private vehicles. The UN's latest climate action report says that shifting more trips to public transit is essential to curbing climate change. The Reason Foundation also said, just word for word, public transit substantially reduces fuel use and greenhouse gas emissions, making it a wise public investment in a new carbon-constrained economy. Here's the numbers for you. A typical passenger car carrying one person gets 25 passenger miles per gallon, while a conventional bus at its capacity of 70 seated and standing people gets 163 passenger miles per gallon.
Whoa.
Yeah. So these fuel savings yield commensurate cuts in carbon dioxide emissions. More numbers. A passenger car carrying one person emits 89 pounds of CO2 per 100 passenger miles, while a full bus emits only 14 pounds. So
And that's
buses are
like,
way better for the environment. Yeah.
so that means because there are so many more people
Yes.
compared
Yeah, because we're
to.
comparing like passenger miles, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You said
Buses.
80 something versus 14.
So it's 89 pounds of CO2 per 100 passenger miles in a private vehicle with one person in it, while a full bus emits only 14 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah.
That makes me
So,
feel real good about my decade in DC
yeah,
not
just
owning
riding
a
the
car.
bus. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. In addition, these benefits of conventional transit buses are further enhanced, this is so not plain language, by a growing number of alternative options known as green buses, including electric hybrid, all
Oh, yeah.
electric, and other advanced technologies. I didn't do a deep dive on each of those and how
Yeah.
they would benefit, but just the fact that a gas powered or diesel powered bus is, substantially less CO2 per person if you were at capacity, right?
Yeah. That's
There's the
pretty
show.
nuts.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot, I don't know about a lot, but I've definitely heard of, I think Maryland, I sent you an article. I think there was the Maryland Transit Authority got an award lately. And I think it's because they want to switch to electric. They're trying
Yeah.
to switch like a lot of stuff to electric, which is really cool. And I think
Yeah.
that's pretty common in
Yeah. A lot of
different
places.
cities.
Yeah. In different. Yeah. Albuquerque. There's a very contentious art. It's called the Albuquerque Rapid Transit Art Bus, and it's a bad thing. But they have electric buses, so zero
Okay.
emissions. Hang on. Okay, she just kicked her feet. We're fine. The American public. Okay, well, apparently I didn't organize this very well, but
I love when I read back through my notes. I'm like, what was I
why
thinking?
did I do that? Japan, South Korea, Switzerland, and Germany all have high public transit use and low greenhouse gas emissions from transportation.
Okay.
Like
Well,
that's numbers you can look up. Yeah.
yeah.
In the U.S., transportation emits more greenhouse gases than any other sector of the economy, which we've discussed from previous episodes, because of individual passenger trips.
Wow.
So,
That's crazy.
in terms of economic benefits, the American Public Transportation Association estimates that 87% of trips on buses or public transit directly benefit the local economy. They say every dollar invested in public transit, including subways, generates $5 in economic returns.
Oh, wow.
So they break that down by public transit creates jobs. First of all, you have drivers, you have workers maintaining things. It increases business sales locally because people
Yeah.
can visit businesses. It increases the GDP, which they dive into more, but the gross domestic product
Yeah.
increases labor income and
Okay.
increases tax revenue.
Interesting.
So it's good for the economy that way.
Which is so interesting because you went to Georgetown, and I'm sure while you were there you heard about this, but all I heard ever was that Georgetown refused to let a metro system into their little
Little
enclave.
bubble community. Yeah.
Yeah, and they like barely had any bus routes. I think there was like one bus route. That
Yeah,
went
the
there, maybe two.
G2 went
Yep.
from Georgetown to Howard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But we had a bus system at Georgetown. They loved acronyms there. So it was the Georgetown University Transit System. GUTS.
Oh Lord.
So you could ride the GUTS bus from Georgetown for free with your student ID to DuPont Circle or Roslyn to get the metro.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you
Yeah.
could walk. I mean,
Yeah. But it's just funny because it's like knowing
and
that
it
it
was-
brings so much money into
Yeah.
your area. I guess maybe
but they
don't
had
care.
enough money.
Yeah,
Yeah, they just
yeah.
didn't want transient people. We don't want criminals, and that's again that mindset about who takes the bus, the public, the unwashed masses. Clutch your pearls, girls. So that's very much true in Georgetown. I had completely forgotten about that. Thank you for reminding me. Now I'm all
Yes,
mad all over again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in terms of now, we were talking about how taking the bus costs less than owning a car. So I did my math. If you live in Austin, Texas, a 31-day bus pass in Austin, which is your best deal, is $41.95. So if you do that every month, it's $495 a year, give or take, because it's 31. It's not a month pass; it's 31 days. So if you get it in February, It goes over into March, so, things like that.
Okay.
But anyway, let's say it's $495 a year you're spending basically on a bus pass. As we discussed in our bikes episode, the average cost of owning a car is well over $10,000 a year because of car payments, maintenance, getting it detailed, and gas. So, yeah, $500 a year versus $10,000 a year. Okay.
That's insane.
But the thing that you pay for in the American bus system is convenience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There are non-dollar costs associated with riding a bus, like the time you spend waiting, how much time you spend figuring out the routes.
Yep.
Is the bus going to get you there on time? And in America, this is the big deal breaker.
Yeah. I actually found, I just forgot, I remembered this. There was an amazing app, and I wish I remembered the name because I'd like to plug it, but it was like, I think it was DC specific, but maybe it wasn't. But it told you the timetables, like real timetables based on satellite information, based on like where
That's
the buses
huge.
were,
Yeah.
when the bus was going to come. And that was a total game changer. Because if you saw it was going to be an hour, you would just be like, okay,
I'll
now I
walk.
can
Yeah. Ride my bike,
I'll walk,
or
or I'll like hang out and have another drink or something.
Yeah.
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 So,
Google actually does that in Austin.
okay. They may have started because this was a little while ago before Google.
Yeah.
Was like
I mean,
good.
that was always the thing. I remember it was so exciting when you could even just, like, bus schedules are freaking confusing. It'll be like holidays. Austin's public
God,
transit
yeah.
app, the Cap Metro app, actually has real-time information on when the next bus will arrive at your stop, and it has a trip planner that'll help you plan stuff out
nice.
too, which is
Okay.
good. So I can see like, oh shit, the 2 is the bus by my house is coming in 30 seconds. I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's still like the other day.
Maybe
took
I
the
can
bus.
make it.
Well, I always leave 5 minutes before the bus is supposed to be there. Because our stop is, there's like, it's like me and my roommate take the bus from my stop. And it's usually perfectly on time. But she keeps kicking the curtain and throwing me off. But I always leave 5 minutes early. And as I was walking, because it takes 90 seconds to walk from my house to the bus stop. And you can see it go down the road. And it went down the road because the next bus stop they like to stop at and take their breaks. And so she didn't, she was 5 minutes early, so she thought she'd go get her break. And I like hoofed it down the street in my heels to get to the next bus stop and get on the bus. And I was like, all right, at least I left 5 minutes early. Because otherwise I would have been standing at the bus stop by my house waiting and then it's 20 minutes before the next one comes.
Oh,
so,
20 minutes. Yeah.
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 Well, depending on the time of day.
30
but yeah.
minutes is the worst.
Yeah.
It's like just short enough you're going to wait, but just long enough that you want to like just fall asleep by the end of 30 minutes.
Yeah,
You're like,
please.
no.
I don't have enough podcasts to listen to for this.
Yeah. I've gone through them all.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So, okay. Our next question that we've been asking is this something a normal person could do or afford? And this is where stuff gets sad.
Oh, no. Okay.
Welcome to America. Yeah. According to that article from World Resources Institute, the world needs to double its public transit capacity around the world, not just the United States, by 2030. That's 6 years away, to avert the worst impacts of climate change. Like, we need to up the infrastructure on buses and make people want to ride buses
Right.
all over the world. However, ridership on public transit, especially in the US, was already declining since 2015 and dropped off almost completely during the COVID-19 pandemic for obvious reasons. And it's never recovered, especially in the US.
Wow.
So in America, we've never really used buses to their fullest potential, ever. At least since World War II, which is fun. According to the Reason Foundation article, in the U.S., the average passenger load in a conventional bus in 2006, this is 2006, so almost 10 years ago, or excuse me, almost 20 years ago, was 9.22. So that's about 1/8 of the 70 factor used in the paper that we cited earlier. So using the 2.33 bus miles per gallon value, this translates to 21.4 passenger miles per gallon.
Okay.
So that means buses aren't better for the environment if they're not at capacity. You're getting, because remember, a passenger car gets 25 on average passenger miles per gallon.
Right, right,
Now,
right, right,
if you
right.
only have 1/8 of 70 people, you get 21.4 passenger miles per gallon. So it becomes worse
Okay,
for the environment,
I get it. But
unless it's an
then,
electric or a hybrid. But
and the carbon, because the other number you had was like the carbon output
it's
or
again,
something
it's calculated per person,
per
basically,
person.
not,
So it's gonna be worse, basically.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's interesting. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So,
Because I don't know that. Like, there were specific routes that I would take that would be packed, and
yeah,
especially at rush hour, but
yeah,
really only at rush hour, and packed that you had to try to shove on, and then you
yeah,
couldn't sometimes. But that was rare, and usually there weren't more than 10 other people on there
yeah.
on
I
the
mean, I
bus.
ride the bus now in Austin, and it's me and the guy with the machete a lot of the time,
I can't tell if you're joking, but that's
I'm
horrible.
kind of joking, but I haven't had to stand on a bus since 2019 in Austin,
Yeah,
and
I
this could be at
believe
rush
that.
hour. Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah.
And I would take it downtown to work. Yeah. Well, and then, it'll be somebody who smells bad or they're looking at you
Yeah.
funny. I mean,
I
yeah.
know. I've had so many, so many incidents.
Experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um, I once
there's,
had.
yeah, go ahead. I want to hear
Can
this.
I tell you about my worst bus experience?
Please. Am I
Well, I
going
don't
to
know if this
cry?
was the worst. This probably was. It was the worst, like, public vomiting experience I've
Oh,
ever had.
well, that says everything right there, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, warning: if you don't like talking about puke, then fast forward like 2 minutes or what.
Yeah.
Basically, this girl, it was at night, this girl was drunk. She got on, stumbled on, had her friends with her, and she sat down, and then for some reason in her drunk brain, she thought, I have to puke, so I'm going to look up.
Brilliant. Impeccable reasoning. How could this possibly go wrong? Amazing. Wow.
So you can basically just picture how horribly disgusting it was. Yeah, it was
Oh my
awful. And she
God.
was like 2 seats in front of us. My friend and I were like,
Did the bus driver make her get off?
yeah, yeah, he did.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And
But
her
then you're
friends,
like,
of course, were like, "Oh my god, why?"
Stacy, no. I just imagine her name was Stacy.
Totally.
Poor Stacy. Well, and now they laugh about it, but that poor bus driver is like, I quit that day. I quit immediately.
Seriously, it made me not really want to ride the bus that much.
Oh, it's
but
awful.
I
Yeah.
got back on it probably the next day.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have no option.
Yeah. Anyway, that was just
Wow.
funny. Gross.
But I mean, you're riding with the unwashed masses. You never know
Yes.
what drunk girl's going to get on the bus.
And what they're
Not
gonna
here
do.
in Austin, it's drunk girl in the Uber, but, just
Yeah.
don't take a shared Uber.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. That sucks still. Yeah, there's people who piss themselves on the bus all the time. And
Oh yeah.
we all have these horror stories.
Yes.
We still love the bus, though.
I know. It's so weird.
So, okay, I have to talk about American funding for public transit. This is
Okay.
something that I think is grossly misunderstood, and I probably still don't understand it. So, the way that we pay for public transit, especially buses, is local funding. So, taxes from property, income, sales licenses, user fees, and business activity. All those local taxes.
Okay.
State and federal government chip in as well, but that's mostly just to build capital projects. So they'll pay for the roadways or the railways or the buses themselves or the cars through capital funds, right? But they don't fund the day-to-day operations. So they don't pay wages, they don't pay maintenance, they don't pay gas, all of that stuff. There is no such thing as a public transit system in the U.S. that funds itself through fares. But fares do make up more of the revenue for public transit funding than either federal or state revenue on their own. Combined, it's more. Federal and state make up more than fares.
Okay.
But fares still make up probably a good chunk of the funding.
Okay.
This was all true in 2011, which was the most
Oh,
recent
okay.
data I could find for this.
Wow.
So
course.
City transit authorities now are facing enormous deficits without any hope of a bailout, right?
Wow.
Low ridership means fewer fares,
Yep.
which means the transit authority has to cut employees, routes, services, or times. And this means even less ridership. So they're
Yeah.
in a downward spiral. We bail out the
Right.
airlines all the time, but nobody's coming for your bus system, you
That is
know?
so fucked up.
It,
Yeah, because
yeah.
I remember in DC, and it might still be like this. I don't know. I haven't ridden the metro in a while, but they were down to like every 20 minutes,
Yeah. It's 20
even
minutes
during the
from
day.
at my house, even during rush hour. There's the bus route here that goes downtown, which is the one that I take, comes every 20 minutes. It comes every half an hour after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
or during the day, and then like once an hour after 9 p.m. or something. Like I think it stops at 10. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah, it was like times. Well, this was the metro, so it's like
yeah,
times where it used to come every 2 minutes went to
yeah,
like 20. And
yeah,
then they said we don't have an option. Otherwise, like, oh my God,
yeah.
who's
How
gonna
do you get
ride
anywhere?
that?
Yeah, like you have to. I'll get into that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
So why is this in the U.S.? And I am going to talk out of my ass because I already had six sources, but I know the history. So okay, the U.S. has incentivized private car trips over public transit, including public buses, at least since the 1960s, probably before.
Yeah.
An interesting statistic I found: only 56% of U.S. individuals in urban populations, okay, this is in cities, have convenient public transit access. 56%.
That doesn't super
That's in
shock me.
cities. I'm not talking about the suburbs.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
in cities. That's compared to 85% in Canada, 81% in Australia, 95% across Europe, 78% in Russia. In Russia, you guys. And
And Russia's
66% in
big.
Brazil. Yes. So
Wow.
then we're talking about I scared the dog. Sorry. We're talking about urban populations again. So but China is doing worse than us currently. They have just over 50% access to urban populations to convenient public transit.
That's
So
kind of
go
shocking,
team, we're
actually.
beating China in something by 6%, but they're investing in light rail
Yeah,
way
that's what I was
higher
gonna
rates than the
say.
US.
Yeah,
So they're about
that's
to, I
actually
mean,
okay.
that's going to
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
Okay. 75% of US workers commute by car. 3 out of 4. Wow. The dog just stretched to that. The
Of
US
those
has
who commute, I'm guessing because
yes,
I don't
yes.
commute, but
Yeah. I
I
only
guess my
commute.
daycare drop off would be considered my commute. But
I guess. You see that's the thing. But I guess we're just talking about people who go to work.
yeah,
75% of the people who leave their house to go to work do it by car. I don't know what the raw numbers are on that. The U.S. has spent $10 trillion in taxpayer money on highways and roads or roads for cars in the past 65 years. They've spent a quarter of that on public transportation. So, yeah, we're incentivizing cars, right? So, historically speaking, public transit was kind of great in the U.S. as cities were built. We like had trolley systems and light rail. I mean, even D.C. There's the light rail tracks in Georgetown under the
yeah,
cobblestones. There's still light rail
right.
tracks there. It was it was so common in the 1920s and 1930s to be able to get a little trolley or a rail car anywhere in the United States. After World War II, when they started, the American dream became a single family home in the suburb, they started building, roads for cars. So your goal was to drive yourself, and the government started disinvesting from public transit initiatives. Now, this is where I put two and two together. What happened in the 1960s in American cities? Well, what happened after World War II in American cities? Actually, let's say, what happened after 1860 in American cities?
Oh boy.
You have black people and immigrants moving into the cities, right? In the 1960s, during the civil rights movement, especially, you start having white flight. So white people
Right.
leave the urban centers and go to the suburbs. When did we start disincentivizing buses? Oh, wait, it's the 1960s. They didn't want to pay for public transit for black people. It's racism. It's definitely racism we still, Donald Trump still calls black people urban, right? So now that
Yeah.
white people are moving back into cities, in liberal white areas, you have great public transit. Lower Manhattan, less so in the Bronx, right? It's completely tied to racism. And I didn't look up on the numbers on this. I just know it from my understanding of Austin city planning from the 1930s reads like something Hitler wrote. It is horrifying. If you look up sometime, and I don't have it on me, but a friend of mine in college was talking about reading about the subway plan in New York was specifically drawn up to make things harder for minority families, black people especially, Hispanic or Latin people, any non-white Anglo-Saxon Protestant population. The specific goal of why it was drawn out the way it was drawn out was to make it easier for white people and harder for everyone else. And we've never addressed that in the
Yeah.
United States. There has never, it's an equality issue. Equal access to jobs, and now that cities are too expensive for people to live in, people who are poorer move out to the suburbs and they don't have access to the highfalutin city jobs, right? So it's just this continuance of like the reason we don't have public transportation in the United States is because of racism. That's it. We can say it's because, oh, well, it's not, it's convenience. We could also say that, the thing Sean likes to say is that it's because oil and gas wants us to spend money on oil and gas. Yes.
Right.
That's a huge economic driver in the United States. But the
Lobbyists
reason,
and whatnot.
yes, lobbyists for sure. But we don't have public transit because of lasting, explicitly racist planning from city planners from the 1920s, even earlier, 1890s. It goes so far back and we don't talk about it. And yeah, so the U.S. tends to treat public transportation as social welfare. Surprise. You ever,
Right.
you ever hear anything
Right.
good said about something called welfare in the United States anymore? No, you don't. It's that's an entitlement. It's not. Like, come on. There's a stigma about people using public transit now. Only poor people who can't afford cars ride the bus. In a lot of places. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true in Austin. Or you take a
That
ride
is
share.
definitely, that's
Yeah.
definitely the stereotype. I feel like, I was going to say, I feel like it wasn't so much like that in DC, but that's probably not true. It's probably just the circle of friends that I ran
Well, I
in.
think, yeah, DC is more accessible by bus. But it's also, there's a lot of white people working in DC.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say there were definitely routes where white people were like,
Yep.
I can't believe you ride that bus. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah. I don't have a car. Like, I like the bus.
Yeah, it's a bus.
Of course I'm going to ride the bus.
There are other people on the bus. And
Yeah.
generally speaking, I'm fine. A random
Yeah.
puke girl once in a while and some uncomfortable moments, but it's not a big deal.
I would like to point out that Machete Guy was white, just for the record.
Okay. It's just making that
Like,
clear.
it's not like a person's race is making them more dangerous or less dangerous,
Exactly.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
We expected in liberal white enclaves, that's where you get good funding for public transit. Now, because funding for public buses is set by cities rather than a federal government-wide effort, spending per capita is vastly different from state to state. So Texas definitely disincentivizes public transit as opposed to New York,
Right.
Public transit infrastructure now is biased again towards wealthy liberal communities. And then, we're pushing poor people out to the suburbs, which already didn't have public transit. So nobody's clamoring to get buses out of Pflugerville, It's not happening. In most cities, it also takes 2 or 3 times as long to commute by bus in the United States as it does by car.
Yeah.
So that's true in Chicago or New York, DC. If you live in a less transit-focused city, like Austin, it could be even longer. So for instance,
Yeah.
I have to go into the office once a week here. It's a 15-minute drive with traffic. It would take me an hour and 20 minutes to get to work on time at 8 a.m. on a weekday. I'd have to leave at 6:30 in the morning. And I'd have to take 3 separate bus lines. And I work for
What?
the city. Yes. They have,
Three?
yes. Their offices are in a place that is inaccessible by bus. I'd have to
Wow.
transfer 3 times.
And that's if all those buses are on time. Like it's probably going to be longer. That's
Yeah, and thank God
crazy.
I would love to ask the city to, how am I supposed to get to work? You guys want me to come into the office more than once a week? Like, come on. I mean, yeah, 15-minute commute. Yes. I don't want to have to drive to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
There's no
Same.
parking at my office. And it's not
Right.
safe to bike there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, no.
It's crazy.
Riding a bus is not something that most normal American people can afford to do. Some of them have to.
Yeah.
And that's something
Well,
they
I was thinking
pointed.
about like people with kids, like if you're
Yeah.
adding an hour, 2 hours one way to your commute, like that just screws everything up.
Yeah, there's no way. I can't imagine. We really do punish poor people in this country. And it tends to be across racial lines too. We love to
Yeah.
keep people poor. And yeah, and again, it's a complete disregard for the environment because it would be so much better if everyone could just take a bus to work and if it was more convenient and it was safe and it was clean.
Yeah.
Everyone would everyone takes a subway in New York, unless you're
Right.
super wealthy and you have a driver or because you can't park anywhere. So,
Yeah. I would
and in
say
DC,
everyone
yeah.
except for the subway is also considered sort of like not lower class, but
Yeah.
like middle
It's-
class maybe
It's
in New
public.
York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just more convenient often to take because of traffic congestion. It's
Yeah,
more convenient
totally.
often to take the subway if you're going somewhere that's accessible by the subway, which is another thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really depressing that we have shot ourselves in the foot here because in other countries, they're doing amazingly well. I mean, they were talking about emerging nations. Brazil is kicking ass in public transit infrastructure. India, Kenya. Now, these are places where it's cost prohibitive to own a vehicle. People
Yeah.
can't. So they have to have buses. And so buses and trains. And so they're growing at a much greater rate and which, is better in the long run for the whole community, and it's something that we just hate it here. We just don't want to
Yeah.
do it. I just need
Can
my car.
I also say so I studied abroad in Ghana for a
Yes,
semester.
that's right.
And I don't think I've mentioned this before, but whoop.
Sorry.
We like really nobody has a car. And
No.
there it's like taking a taxi is actually pretty cheap, but to most people it's not. Like that's
Yeah.
what's cheap to like an American coming from a very expensive country is like very much not cheap to somebody living in Ghana. But so we normally would take what's called a trotro, which is just like it's like a van. I'm trying to think of how to describe. It's just like a work van. Like how do you describe it? Like a big boxy van. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a passenger van where a bunch of people can sit. And
Yeah.
one person would open the door. That was like their job. They would open the door and collect your money and ask you where you want to get off. And you have to like, I can't remember I think you like tapped the side or something. I don't know. There was like this whole method and I was so intimidated by it at first, but eventually you get it. But yeah, you can go, like I went, 100 miles on those, like they go far.
Yeah.
So it's not just, on the campus or
neighborhood,
yeah. So people are resourceful. It's kind of
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that and imagine if, they had public funding and infrastructure
Yeah.
as well.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Because most of these were like pretty banged up and
Yeah.
could use a
maintenance.
little bit of love. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we were once going down 60 miles down a road, 60 miles an hour down the road, and a tire blew out.
Oh my God.
And
That's terrifying.
it was the only time in my life where I was like, I'm going to die. And I accepted it in that moment. It was weird. It was like slow motion, like, this is it. This is the end. And I was at peace. But luckily the guy knew how to drive a
Oh yeah.
and he didn't slam on the brakes and didn't
Oh
flip the
yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
I looked out the window and I saw the women on the side of the road who were like washing something or, just running a market or something run away from
Yeah.
us. And I
Oh my
was like,
God.
that's not a good sign. Like
We're all
they
gonna
know
die.
exactly what might happen. They're getting the hell out of here. And I was like, and I'm in that vehicle, so that sucks.
Yeah. Wow.
But so yeah, I mean, imagine if it actually was funded and
Yeah.
didn't have tires that were bald. I mean, that could be amazing.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I'm glad he knew how to drive. That's
Yeah, I know.
I feel like a lot
No
of drivers
seatbelts,
here
for
wouldn't
sure.
do that. Yeah, no.
Yeah. On most
Wow.
buses, yeah.
Okay, so the other question we've been asking is, does the Earth-friendly message need to come back to Earth? I originally said no. No. We need to work on getting our local governments to incentivize public transportation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel a little bit hopeless about it. I see, I'm so mad about it.
Yeah.
It should be a public right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think internet should be a public right. I think access to water should be a public right. I think, access to grocery stores. These are fundamental, and healthcare. These are fundamental things
Yeah.
that you need to function in our current modern
Ability to
society.
move around
Yes.
your locale. Yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
And it's better for the economy. It's better for everyone. Like,
Yep.
not just poor people benefit from public transit. Everyone benefits from public transit. Cleaner air, less congestion, less traffic, less fatalities. I mean, these are all things that all of us could use.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I said, let's reclaim the bus. If more people ride the bus, they can start having more bus routes, services, and times. And those of us who, I know you live in a place that probably doesn't have a public bus system per se.
Yeah, not
Now.
where I am exactly, but the city next to us does, and it's pretty robust.
Yeah. So that's, I mean,
I
that's
mean,
those
would
of us who
I
have,
be able to take it? Not really, but
yeah. I mean,
maybe I could
take
look.
it sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take it to like concerts or shows
Right,
or
right.
just, I I have a bus pass because I work for the city. So, I can take the bus whenever I want. And like, just if I work from home most of the time and I obviously can't take it to work, but if I go downtown, out to dinner, if I could ride it to my boyfriend's house, I can, I've got some flexibility and I can. So why not? Why not make the bus full of people using it and not pay for parking and not, all those other things. So
Not have to worry about like traffic. Sitting in traffic is the worst, but sitting in
it really
traffic on
is.
a bus is great. You could
Yeah,
read,
you can
look
read,
at your
you can-
phone, like who
yeah.
cares?
Yeah, exactly. Same with the train,
Yeah.
There's other things like we can do other than just trying to take public transit to work once a week, right? Just make one change. Like we said, just do one trip a week on a bike, right? Do one short trip on a bus a week on a Saturday, Ask your work to subsidize bus passes. Like, make that a thing that, one of your benefits. Check out what
Yeah.
kinds of public transit specials your municipality has. Like, sometimes they do park and ride services. You can drive your car halfway to work and ride the bus the rest of the way.
Yeah, those are cool. They have
Yeah.
those here too.
Yeah, definitely around DC, and
Uh-huh.
I know like Silver Spring and stuff. You could, especially the people who live way out in like Bethesda or wherever.
Yep.
Um,
Or even from Annapolis, you can take a bus into Union Station, which is like
Yeah.
an hour drive. So
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
You know, participate in city bus free days. I know it's free here on like holidays, like July 4th. It's free to ride. Maybe that isn't great for the bus fare. You're not paying a bus fare, but like, it's good to get to know your bus system. Like, don't be afraid of it. Start to understand it. Make a point of it. Participate. Also, participate in your city government and lobby for routes that are more convenient for the people who need them.
Yes.
And let's think about the good things about the bus. It's cheaper than a car. It's better for the environment. And in Austin, at least, the AC is always blasting full in the summer. It's
Yes,
the coolest place you can be. I would just ride the
know.
bus all day just to get out of the heat. So
Yeah.
a lot of people do that here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the last thing that we do is a granola rating. So this is a system that Tiffany devised, which I love, where we rank things on a scale of how crunchy the granola is. The crunchier, the better. So a 1 would be soggy, which is the worst you can have. A 2 is mushy. A 3 is chewy. A 4 is crunchy. And a 5 is break your tooth off. So this kind of gets 2 granola ratings, I would say. It's a break your tooth off in theory. Riding the bus should be a break your tooth off. In America, it's a soggy, unfortunately. And I think we need to
Yeah.
change that.
I don't know if I would give it a soggy.
Just in America.
Well, yeah, but it depends. It depends where you are. And that's true though, actually the buses that were really reliable were in that was when I lived in like a richer neighborhood. The
Yep.
buses that were potentially an hour late slash invisible, like
Yeah.
they didn't exist. What's that Harry Potter bus? Anyway,
Oh, I
it
don't
was like
know.
you had to like summon it.
Yeah.
It that was in like a poorer neighborhood.
Yeah.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah. Once you see it,
Gross.
you can't unsee it. Yeah.
Gross.
So, yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, soggy's fine. I agree.
It's both. It can be both crunchy in theory, excuse me, and soggy in practice. So,
Yeah.
it's our first bifurcated, I don't know what you even call that.
Yeah.
I was going to say bipolar, which has bad connotations. I'm talking about like on opposite ends of a pole.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
By
that's our first-
granola.
By granola rating. Yeah. So anyway, there you go, buses. Are you mad? Are you fired up?
Yes. I'm like I'm a little bit like shocked that I hadn't thought about that so much before, actually.
And there's so much more to it than I even got into. Like, we could talk about how electric buses are better. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have an electric bus, it basically takes away any CO2,
Right.
that's a whole different. So, yeah. Boy.
Wow.
All right. So,
I'm curious.
that
Now
was
I'm
buses.
gonna go look at the bus system near me and see
Yeah,
what
maybe
it's
just
like.
see if you can take Charlie on it during the day to the zoo. Or
Oh my god,
something,
she loves the bus.
Of course. Wasn't
Just
that the
in
love? The
general.
wheels on the bus go round and round
Exactly.
all through the town. We all know. The smash hit from our childhoods. Buses are
Top
great.
of the charts.
Right after Baby Shark. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up Baby
Gross.
Shark. I know that's blah.
Luckily, we never really got into that. Thank God.
Oh, thank
I kind
God.
of avoided it as long as I could. Now she's.
What's Baby Shark? I don't know. I've never heard of it.
Never heard of that. All right, cool. Do you know what we're talking about next week? Because I don't. Oh, good.
Rideshares. Yeah, rideshares.
Oh, yeah, because that's me.
So,
That's my
yep.
turn.
Ubers and Lyft, which I'm really interested in.
Yeah, me too. I
I
took
wonder
a
where
lot.
you'd even find the numbers. I'm sure Uber and Lyft have like publicists who publish this
Oh,
shit.
probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure they. Yeah, I'm sure they say. Yeah, but yeah, I just took quite a few. So to go to and from the airport, and
Yeah.
my credit card is now like insanely.
Oh yeah. I only take an Uber if somebody's reimbursing me, really.
Smart. It's smart. I didn't really have a choice, but well, I could have. Man, it's a whole thing. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that next
We'll
week.
talk about that
It's
next week
fine.
for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you.
All right.
I do want to say we were a little late this month on our. Well, it should be up by now. By the time this comes out, this is July 23rd. Our Patreon would have been up, but if you haven't checked out our Patreon, it's Greening Up My Act, or excuse me, patreon.com/Greening Up My Act, and you can get a week free. So you can get all of our intimate content that we put up there. So check it out.
Yeah. Slowly but steadily adding.
Thanks to Tim and Don who have subscribed. We love you. Thank you. I know them both, so I had to shout them out. Thank you.
Yay.
But yeah, so I'll see you next week, Tiffany.
All right. I'll see you soon.